my in one piece. I looked up and the horse was just looking down over me like, "Doo-doo, are you okay?"
No kidding. He's like,
Differing opinions are really good. And it's just, if we bring in our reality can be traced to numbers in equations. And I think there's a whole different world that we can't see, like an alternative reality. And
hey everyone, welcome to Social Commerce, tonight's episode. And I'm so excited to have Traci Roshitsh here with us tonight. So Traci is a very dynamic lady. She teaches yoga, Pilates, kickboxing. She's very, very intuitive, and she's coming out with a very cool online project, her own studio, Downward Dog Rising. She's already got stuff happening on YouTube. So very excited to talk to her and hear her answer the 14 questions that are asked to every guest on Social Commerce Give It Up. So welcome, Traci, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
hi, Nancy. Thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
So how was your day today? How did things go for you?
It was really good. I took it easy. Just a nice slow day for the weekend. So enjoying it.
Those are kind of fun for Sundays. And you're located in California, right? Whereabouts in California?
I'm in San Jose, California. It's by Santa Clara in, San Francisco Bay Area, South Bay.
Oh, nice. So how's the weather being there, and how is everything like with pandemic situation, that type of stuff?
We're reopening. A lot of things are reopening. Traffic is returning. And I felt an earthquake last night. I just was texting with my brother, and it was 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden my room started shaking. And then I asked my phone, was there just an earthquake? And it said, can you please press input? We'll get right back to you. So I said yes. And then I looked it up and it said a 3.8. So I won't get used to the room shaking. And I only feel them if I'm still inside. So I don't know if they happen when I'm outside, but it's just an eerie feeling because you don't know when it's going to happen. It just happens. And not being from California, they kind of unnerves me.
Oh my gosh, that would totally freak me out. Well, I'm from Toronto, so I think we had like one earthquake a really, really long time ago, but from what I understand, California gets them all the time, and people are just kind of thinking they're the norm. But I don't know if I could get used to that. It would freak me out.
Yeah, me too.
So where are you from originally? Where you
Ohio, and I spent 15 years in Ohio. Then I spent almost 35 in Florida. And then in the 35 that I spent in Florida, I spent a year in Cali. And then I spent a year in Virginia, and I spent a year in New Orleans. So I had a few moves. So
you did. So you're pretty well traveled across the US. So that's cool. All right. So awesome. Well, hopefully nothing shaky happens while we're talking.
Exactly.
Crossed, hoping for the best. Okay, so I think you had a chance to take a look at a little bit of social commerce. So basically, it's a series of 14 questions that we asked every guest, and just so excited to find out your answers and what you have to say. So if you're ready, I guess we will dive into question one.
Sure, fire.
Okay, so what are you doing as your business professionally, and why? Why did you choose to do it?
25 years ago, I decided that since I love fitness and health, I decided to make it my business. And I did it because after I graduated, I couldn't get into law school. I'm not a test taker. And I tried 3 times and I couldn't pass the LSAT. So then I actually went back to school for health, exercise, health, wellness, and exercise and fitness. So I teach Pilates, I teach kickboxing, personal training. And over the course of the last 25 years, I've probably taught everything like step and aerobics and spinning classes, water aerobics, aquatics, just everything. And then I really geared it towards Pilates just because I just have a passion for it. And just lately, I've gotten into yoga. So just kind of tying those in together. So I love yoga too.
That's amazing. Wow. So how has COVID and the pandemic affected that as a business? Like, were you teaching at a studio? Like, what was your format?
I was teaching at like 6 different places. Sometimes I'd go into tech companies, and then other places were like a boutique chain for Pilates. And everything totally shut down last March. And we were totally shut down for like 6 months. We opened for a few months. And then at the end of November, right after Thanksgiving, we closed again till mid-March. So I knew it was going to be a long haul. And I knew because being in a gym, like all the gyms closed around here, the tech companies closed first of all. So I knew I would have to do something different. So I put all my time and energy into studying yoga. And I'm glad I did it because I was doing yoga 4 hours a day in lockdown. And so lockdown didn't really bother me. I was just having fun doing my thing, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've talked to a couple of people who are like very big practitioners, very like serious practitioners of yoga. And from what I understand, it's like a whole body mind balancing experience. Like, it's so powerful.
It is so powerful. And the word yoga comes from the word to yoke mind, body, and spirit. And I think in Western society, and to my dismay, I see how they can take yoga and try to commercialize it, and it's not meant to be commercialized. When I see someone taking yoga and speeding it up and not addressing the spiritual aspect of it, it makes me cringe because the part of yoga that comes from centuries old of tradition is the spirituality of it, and it can raise consciousness. So to take something like that and just put it into a fitness cookie cutter frame, that bothers me. So, but I think that if people realize that when you do yoga, there's a spiritual component, and you don't have to think of it as being part of any religion. It's more of the spirituality of there being something greater for us to connect with than ourselves. And it also unifies humanity, and that same uniqueness that all human beings embody, it unifies people. So
yes, that's my understanding. And it's something that I truly want to incorporate into my personal daily plan, because I do feel that I feel, well, the little that I know about it, it feels like it's a little bit of a meditation, like a physical movement
moving.
meditation. Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
You got
I
it.
have a super hard time with like the sitting still meditation. It just doesn't work for me. It actually causes me anxiety, to tell you the truth, to try to be that still, and I feel like I'm doing it wrong because I feel like I'm constantly losing focus. But something like the movement of yoga, I feel that could work for me. So I'm gonna be hitting you up for a conversation about that after this.
Yay. I totally agree with you. To me, sitting is very difficult. Sitting still and just watching the mind, watching the thoughts come before you. To me, to be in movement and just witnessing what you're doing in movement and being conscious of the breath and how it feels, I get much more of a meditational quality. Because if I sit down, my mind just wanders 100 miles an hour from just like what you just said. It's very hard.
I'm glad the only one, because I'm the only person who can't do sit still meditation.
I think that's common.
So I know that you are actually taking some of your business stuff online, which I think is like so powerful and phenomenal, especially like right now when centers are opening, closing, that type of thing. So can you share a little bit more about that? What your plans are, what your vision is?
I plan on launching it soon, but I have a site that encompasses Pilates, yoga, kickboxing, and yes, every now and then I'll add a little tiny meditation, and I'll do a guided meditation of like colors or chakras or what I want you to feel or envision, and it'll kind of lead you on a journey. So to me, I can do that in a short meditation, but
Yeah.
the type of meditation just where everything is silent and you just count the breaths, that's a little harder for me. But I hope right now I've been working on content on the side, and I've gone back to work physically at different places. So right now I'm just working on content on the channel, but I'd love for it to be like a one-stop place where you can get different areas of fitness that are combined with mind, body, spirit, and spirituality. And I'm not going to focus on religion in any way. I'm Buddhist myself, but I'm not focused on doing anything like that. I just want to have people connect to something beyond, like to get centered, to get focused, and just to feel like positive and uplifted. That's what I'm looking to do.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think that, well, I know that everyone feels that on some level, right? It's like that Zen zone, so to speak, when you hit it, it's just, it goes beyond religion, it goes beyond personal journeys. It's just, it's the energy of something greater that connects us all. So
Exactly.
I love that so much. And I think you have a very cool name, if you've settled on that for your business, because we had a previous conversation. Can you share that and your thoughts and vision around what you're going to name your business and why?
I feel like I've really been going through it where the name embodies what the experiences that I've gone through. So no matter what life throws out at me, like I'm still going to look at the positive aspects, and I'm still like, even if things aren't the way that I really want them to be, I'm going to stick it out and hang out and until I get them to be where I want them to be. So when I had a house in Florida, I had my own business, and I mean, it was my soul that made me leave. I mean, it's weird. Like, why would I walk away from my house? And why would I walk away from my business? Like something beyond, something within told me it was time and that I needed to do more. And so I left, not having any stability. So it's like I've been living in my in a zone that's so uncomfortable for the past 4 years. And I'm like, am I ever going to get to the end of the tunnel where I'm in a comfortable place? Like, it's like that zone of never knowing what's coming next. And it's like, okay, I would like something that's a little more, it feels like, well, you can't guarantee life, but it would be fun to have boring knowingness for a little while. I don't know.
It's sometimes too much of the unknown adventure. Yeah, you can get your fill of it for a little bit, for sure. But
Right.
it seems like it's been a very personal, transformational journey for you.
I do think so. And I don't think I would be where I'm at today if I hadn't have taken that plunge, that leap of faith, and just, I lived in California before, and there's something about nature here that calls out to me, because there's woods, there's the ocean, there's mountains. I mean, it's so gorgeous outside, and I really love animals and nature. And that my alone time in nature just really balances me. And I love that. I get all these ideas, and I just feel connected to everything when I'm out in nature. And Florida, South Florida, was really hard, even though it might be beautiful and there's a beach. Everything is so manicured in South Florida. Maybe in other parts of Florida, it's different. But even in South Florida, as an example, I had a Buddhist monk from Australia come stay with me for 2 weeks, and he taught meditation to my clients. As an example, he wanted to go see the beach. So we drove to Dania Beach. It was close by my house. We went to Dania Beach, and then we're like at the parking meter, and there's a whole group of people standing at the parking meter, and no one could figure out how the heck to use it. We're all laughing. It was a brand new meter. And then like there was a line and no one could get it to work. And then I looked at him and I said, let's just go to the beach. Let's just go for a walk. So we went for a nice walk on the beach. We're talking. When we get back to the car, there's a $40 ticket. And I was like, this is annoying. Like, you can't enjoy nature without having to pay for it. It's like everything is like nickeled and dimed. And I'm just like, and no matter what anyone says, if you go to the beach for an hour, it's not going to cost $40 to park in a spot. You know what I mean? Things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. For
It,
sure, for sure.
yeah, it's like that walk was a $40 walk to enjoy nature. So things,
Oh gosh.
yeah, things like that made me want to be in a place where here you'll see cars on the side of the road by the beach, and
Mhm.
nobody bothers the car. You just go out in nature. That's just what it is.
Wow,
You,
that
you
that
go
is so interesting that you. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. What did you think?
here, if you want to go for a walk, you just pull over, you find a safe spot, and then you cross the street and you're on a hike.
Oh, that's beautiful. So it's very interesting that you went from like one coast to the next coast, literally.
I love water, so I like to be around water.
Wow, amazing. And yeah, so you said that you encounter lots of animals and things like that. Do you have like a close personal connection with animals, nature?
I love all animals. I love nature. And the last time I was out here, I can tell you in a single day, I heard something running through the forest. You could hear grass and trees, and you could hear things moving. And my heart was stopped for a moment because I didn't know what was going to come onto the trail. And a deer came bounding across the trail, full blast ahead, right in front of me. And then I was so excited to see it. And I was just like, oh, I'm so happy it was just a deer.
Yeah.
You could hear something booking through the forest and you didn't know what it was coming. But in that same day, I got to see a deer. And then I remember going down to the beach and I actually saw a whale in the
Oh my
water with a
gosh.
spout. And then I also saw a pod of dolphins swimming and jumping. And that was just a really cool day to see all that in the same day.
Oh my
Going
gosh.
from the woods, taking a drive, going to the beach, and just seeing it all. It's
That is
just
like
fun.
so much diversity. And that's amazing. Absolutely. So yeah, so what are you calling your new business and why? We kind of didn't quite get to that yet.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. There's so many amazing details. So
Because
such
of
a cool journey as well.
the because of the spiritual aspect of yoga, I've delved into yoga and I want to concentrate more on yoga than Pilates because I've been doing Pilates a lot for the last 21 years. So I want to kind of delve more into yoga. So the business is Downward Dog Rising. And then rising came from like a phoenix rising out of the ashes because I've lost everything of my old life. I mean, I lost my house. You know, I miss my swimming pool. All my belongings are still in a storage unit. And when I moved here, I had my old dog, 16 years. He made the trip with me. He was sick. He survived 6 months once I got here. Just everything about my old life is gone. Like I lost the dog. My favorite car, it was a Jeep Wrangler. I drove, imagine driving across country in a Jeep Wrangler with a soft top and big tires. That's a rough ride from Florida
Yeah,
to
for sure.
California.
For
So
sure. Wow.
the Downward Dog Rising just represents like me being reborn in a different way, I think.
I so much love that. And it incorporates so much of what you're about, the yoga and the fusion and the Phoenix story. I love the Phoenix story. It's so powerful and you've definitely lived it. So that's
Definitely.
amazing. So yeah, so where can people connect with you regarding that? Like, have you got things posted online right now that we can check out?
Right now, it's still just under my first and last name. And if you go to YouTube, if you look up TRACI ROSHITSH, then my channel will show up. And then I'm still working on other things. So I'm going to bring it together. And we talked about how I have some inside help from family.
Mhm.
I do have family members that are working on their own projects, so I may have to go outside of family to get everything done and coordinated that I want to do, because I'm not a tech person and by any means. And so like I can't figure out how to do the stuff online by myself. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm horrible at it. So
And I think that, well, you don't have to be great at it, right? That's why there's people out there to give a hand with that. And I totally hear you. Just
yeah,
figuring out Zoom was a bit of a huge learning curve for me. So I'm always like, did I press record? Am I on the right meeting? So I totally hear you. So I mean, that's a small thing, but that's so
you learn as
exciting.
you learn as you go, right?
Exactly. So I think that's so amazing. And I think online is like such a powerful tool, especially with what you're doing and sharing. One, it gives you the capacity to research such a larger audience. And two, I think we're still really in a tentative state about things staying open and people feeling comfortable going to what is open. So I just think that's so amazing and exciting what you're doing. So I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And I think there's so many people who are going to want to take a look at that, because you're combining so many things. It's like really a fusion whole experience effect. So love that.
I'm glad you'll check it out. That's fun. Cool.
And I'm definitely sure that once the word gets out, that others are going to check it out too. So very, very cool. All right. So that was a very interesting and in-depth answer to question one. So question two is actually the opposite of that. So what would you not ever like to do as a profession, job? Why? And why?
Well, I know for sure that I would never want to be an accountant. And I think everything in our reality could be traced to numbers and equations. And I think
Mhm.
there's a whole different world that we can't see, like an alternative reality. And I think equations form the basis of the reality that we live in. So it's an important aspect to life, but I'm just not, I love that I can remember numbers. I can remember phone numbers. I can remember addresses. I can remember like in algebra, mathematical formulas, but it took me 3 times to pass algebra. Like what's good? There's no good to having a whole list of mathematical equations if you're in your head if you can't use them. And then I know if I'm going to do taxes, when I'm looking for papers and to organize and just to get everything in one spot,
Mhm.
it drives me crazy. It's like sitting in one spot trying to meditate. Like I start to get a headache and so I just know that that's not a profession for me. I respect it, but it's just not
Mhm.
for me.
I totally get that. It's like I don't know, I hear you about numbers and I'm always about the interesting mathematical patterns like the Fibonacci code and all that stuff. And I think it's so amazing how it shows up everywhere. And
Exactly.
my background is really a lot of math and science because that's what I took to work in medical research, but it still feels like a chore to me. It doesn't come naturally to me. I'm like, if give me a blank canvas and some paint and I would like to like do the abstract art or something like that. So I think it's kind of like just where really your soul is called and your spirit is called and what comes most naturally for you to expand upon. So I totally hear you on that.
Coming from
Um,
your background, then you totally understand statistics, mathematical analyses, and like you understand the significance and the importance of science, that it's something that you prove science and there's mathematical equations that show that it's true. Like that's
yes,
cool, right? You can prove
yes,
whatever you have to say when it's in a lab and the statistics show that it becomes significant through all these trials. You can honestly say, I know this works because this was done. This proves it.
exactly. Exactly. That is true. And I totally respect that. And I think personally, and I think kind of what you're saying, um, the real proof for me is just like my intuition and the feeling about it that I get. Like I love the mathematical, like map it out on paper, but ultimately I'm always going to go with my gut instinct or what feels the most right in the end. So that's what
You
I
have the
really
best
noticed
of
about
both
you.
worlds because you could do both. You have the best of both worlds where you could use your intuition to match what you found out on paper and in an analysis. So that's cool.
Okay, awesome. All right, awesome answer. Um, all right, so this question is, do you like going to libraries or bookstores and being around real books?
I used to love it before COVID, and I actually used to love it in Florida before I moved. And honestly, after I moved, I really didn't ever have any free time to ever do it again. But in Florida, I would go to Barnes and Noble and I would get like a hot mocha, or I would
Mhm.
get like a chai tea latte. And you know what's really funny is I'd end up in the tarot section and I'd go look at tarot, all that stuff.
That makes sense, and that's so much fun. And yeah, for here in Canada, we don't have Barnes and Noble, but we do have Chapters Indigo, so it's the same kind of thing. It's like they serve the Starbucks coffee. You walk in, it smells so good. You get your fix of the caffeine and check out the cool books. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a nice experience that way. I think
It was
for
fun.
me personally, it brings something a little more tangible than reading the books on my phone or whatever. Although that's super convenient, right, to be able to do that search. But I really like the feeling of having a book in my hand.
Me too. Makes a difference. It's
Yeah,
tangible. It's real.
it is. It is. Yeah, there's so much virtual, which is cool. But yeah, sometimes real 3D is cool.
I agree.
Okay, so this one is interesting because it sounds like you've done quite a few interesting, diverse things. But the question is, what is the most daring thing that you have ever done?
I already mentioned it. I would say getting in the car and just deciding to just leave my life and start over and just not knowing where it was going to take me and just packing it up and driving cross country alone with my dog. Like, I mean, would I do it again? I don't think so. But I did it and I made it. So
So, from the time you decided to the time that you actually did it, how long was that process? Was it something that happened really suddenly, or did you think about it for a while, or how did that work?
I thought about it. I bought a house in Florida at the height of the market. And so it was a very expensive house. And then after I got divorced, like my house wasn't worth what I paid for it. And everything was wrong with it. Everything was breaking. Everything was falling apart. And I was just like, I can't take this. Like the ground was sinking in the front, and like everything that could possibly break in a home, it would break. And then I had a family of raccoons that would come every June, and the mom would have another litter of children, and raccoon pups would be in my attic. That
Oh my
happened like
gosh.
2 or 3 years in a row, where I had to hire a service to trap them and get them out. And just over time, I just felt like the house is going to consume me if I don't get out of it.
Oh, wow. Wow. So, yeah, that is definitely a lot of motivation just to do something different for sure. Wow.
It made me want to do something different, but it was very beautiful with like a beautiful swimming pool. Like I would literally swim 5 or 6 days a week. So I do miss it, you know.
Yeah, I
But
can't imagine just like leaving your home entirely, but that's like so brave and courageous. So,
it was, I later I thought, you know, I just really needed a vacation.
well, you took the ultimate vacation, right? Who doesn't
Yes,
want to go to California?
there's like now I understand temperance and
Mhm.
like just like, you know, not making a split decision based on where you are in a moment, just like temperance is needed.
Well, that's important too.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Well, this is kind of connected, or maybe there's something else. um, What was a pivotal moment that changed everything for you?
I mentioned it, I keep mentioning things because they connect. When I graduated from FSU, Florida State, I went to school, double major English literature, political science, with my whole goal. I wanted to go to law school.
Mhm.
So when I graduated and I applied, you have to pass the entrance exam. And I took the exam 3 times, and it was so annoying because I took Kaplan review. I took these courses that are supposed to make your score go higher. And I had such test anxiety, and it's a time test. And each time I took it, the score went lower. So it was like I spent time to get a degree for something I wanted to do. And then later I figured out I'm not going to be able to do this. Now what? And so
Mhm.
that's when I went back to school for exercise physiology. And I figured, what do I love? What do I really love doing? And my whole life, I've always been into fitness and health. So that was a pivotal moment that made me go to school for fitness and health. So I'm happy I did it because
Yes.
now I have a background and an understanding, and I love human anatomy, physiology. I love the body. So it all makes sense to me how it all works.
Amazing. So, in retrospect, do you feel like maybe that was a gift in disguise? Do you feel like this was the more correct path for you versus law, or what do you think?
I think it's a gift in disguise, but I still have my love of law. I have my love of civil work, humanitarian work, and like I'm very much involved, maybe not politically, but it matters to me, like that the US Capitol was under siege,
Mhm.
like things like that could happen. Like that kind of stuff matters to me. Like it matters to me that we had a narcissist that was a leader of our nation, and he affected the world, he affected the whole nation, he affected like the backdrop of how people are acting in the world today. Like if you have a narcissist that's in charge, it kind of brings out socially the worst of human nature, and it makes it okay. So for me, I love that I'm into fitness and health, spirituality, but I
Mhm.
also look at the grander picture of people and how they interact with each other. And one country affects all countries. And that means however Canada acts, however Russia acts, however China acts, in the big picture, we all influence one another. And if you have someone that's closed minded and just thinks their way or the highway, that's really not how the world works.
Yes, yeah, that definitely does give a much bigger scope, and it also, yeah, illustrates the interconnectedness of people and nations, and yeah, so I get what you're saying about the more logical, practical perspective that law has given you, that type of thing. So, like you said, I guess in terms of me and the medical stuff and the intuition stuff, it sounds like you also have a very strong balance between logic and intuition and spirituality. So I think that's important, and I think it just gives you that much of a greater scope to interact and help people.
I think it's important because when you see something in front of you that's wrong, like you want to be someone who can say, hey, like this isn't acceptable. And the more people stand up for what's not acceptable, the more change will happen in the world. Like you can't just turn your face because you see something that you don't want to see. If it's happening, it means it's already happening. And like
Mhm.
as an example, right now, because of I believe because we had someone in power in charge calling COVID the China virus, like now we have attacks on Asian Americans out on the streets in broad daylight, and that's not acceptable. And the fact that most of the attacks are like 60-year-olds and higher, it just shows you the sociopathic tendencies of the human nature that's out there, picking someone that's like less likely able to defend themselves. And it's just the way that society has been brought down is really ugly and disturbing in a nutshell. There's also good and all kinds of positive things happening. But when you look at collectively what's happening, it's like, wow, this is where we're at right now in 2021. Unbelievable.
Yes, there's a lot of awareness to be had on a big scale. So I think you are very tapped into that, and I think that's like very powerful. So thank you.
Sure, I keep running on tangents, I think. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, that's the point of the questions, is to sort of get your insight and your perspective, and it's like where the questions lead on a personal level. So no, that's super cool. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Okay, so this question, so the next question is, what is something that you wish you had said yes to looking back?
When I was in Florida, I was doing riding lessons, and my trainer said that, oh, would you want to do horse showings, or even barrel racing? And I said, oh, I'm just doing this for fun. But looking back, I think it would have been really exciting and fun to like do something like that. And it came up because I was riding a horse at the barn that was a barrel racer in its history. And when I was riding around the arena, like I would tell the trainer, why does this horse come so close to the edge? Like I wouldn't bring the horse to the edge of the corral, and my leg would be like 2 inches from the fence. And I'd be like, I didn't do this and the trainer's like, well, this is a barrel racer. Like he's used to coming really close to the barrel. And then I was just like, oh, okay. But it would have been fun. It would have been fun interacting like as a team, doing an event with a horse like that, I think.
Yeah, I can see that about you, given your connection with animals and your physical fitness stuff. And I think equestrian events are so fascinating. I love to watch them because they look so easy, and it's just like, it appears like people are just sitting on the horse and it's like so breezy, but I think it requires so much skill and fitness, and I'm sure it's pretty scary at times. Being on such a powerful animal, going over a jump, or not really knowing exactly what that animal might or could do.
Exactly. And once I was asked for a warm up, it's called 2-step. You stand in the saddle, and I lean forward, and I didn't mean to. I lost my balance. And basically, I told the horse to take off because of my balance shift. And then physically, I wasn't ready, and the horse took off in a full out run. And then I actually fell, and I was hanging upside down in the stirrup. I had one foot caught in the stirrup, and I could see the legs of the horse. And I knew that could be disastrous. And within a second, I remembered in Kung Fu, when you do a roll, you tuck your head sideways under your shoulder and you roll across the side of your shoulder. And I just thought to myself, I need to get off this horse right now, or else I could get really injured. And I remember I tucked my head and I yanked my foot as hard as I could out of that stirrup. And I actually did the roll that we did in Kung Fu, and I did it off the horse and landed in the sand in the arena. And that trainer was just staring at me like he didn't know what to think or do, because he was really frightened. It happened so fast. But in the end, I was like, I'm fine. Everything's good. We waited about 10 minutes, and I told him I need to get back on the horse, because if I don't, I'll be so afraid I'll never want to ride again. So I let myself calm down. I just got right back on the horse and continued with my lesson. So.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. And it's amazing that you're able to bring that aspect of your training into that moment. And yeah, and that's a huge lesson in overcoming extreme fear. Wow.
I think it has to do with your mind-body connection and awareness. Because if you take too long, you've missed it. You've missed what you have to do to help yourself. It's just like an energetic reaction that just happens in the moment.
Wow.
Like you don't plan for it. And luck, maybe.
Maybe someone was watching over you a little bit, but I think that, not to sound too cheesy or whatever, but I think that's also very much a proverb for life, right? If you wait too long, you missed it. You kind of have to
Yeah,
like take the
that's true.
leap and take the action in the moment and just go for it.
That's true. Very good
Mm.
proverb. It's all about energy.
It
The
is.
horse
It
was
is.
so cute because the horse turned around and came back to check on me. And I landed on my feet in the sand. And I just kind of like felt like, is everything okay? Am I in one piece? And then the horse, I looked up and the horse is just looking down over me like, doo, are you okay?
No kidding. He's like, I just did what you told me to do.
He came
Oh,
back to
wow.
check on me.
Wow, animals are pretty amazing. I love animals.
Me too.
Okay, so this is a little more of a light question, more fun. Not quite so serious. Are you the first person on the dance floor?
I say yes. I never was in my past, but in my years of Pilates, something in Kung Fu, like now I love to dance. And I didn't realize how much I love to dance, but I really love to dance now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's such a powerful expression of energy and happiness and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's so cool.
You feel
Um,
connected to the music. So whatever music motivates you, then you can just move to it. So it's fun. Yeah.
oh, nice. So do you include that in your teachings or not so
I
much?
I haven't, but every now and then on LinkedIn, I've actually posted like a little segment of dancing to a song. When I
Oh,
passed
wow.
my yoga certification, I
Yeah.
remember playing a Moby song and I just started dancing and I played it. And then so I just posted like, I just, passed my yoga certification. I'm so happy. And then it showed me dancing. Like every
Oh,
now and then I'll do something spur of the moment like that.
that's so fun. Yeah, one of my favorite things is to throw on some good music and go for like a long walk and just tune everything out. That's how
It's
actually I become really focused and I'm able to think about things.
it's therapeutic.
Yes, yes, agree, totally. Very fun. Okay. So if you could share only one thing about you with other people, what would that be? What would you want people to know?
Um, I truly believe that every human being on this earth is created equal. And so I think there's no reason for racism to exist. And so I'm a really strong proponent for that. Like everyone should have equal opportunity, and looking down on someone because if they're different than you, that's no reason. That's absolutely no reason at all. Like it's, to me, it's just absurd. So, and then for people out there who are part of movements that put down others, it's just like where are you coming from, So
Yes, yes. So that's really powerful to know that you are, well, obviously supportive of all people, animals,
exactly.
nature. Really strike me as being a big picture, all-encompassing type of person about energy and people and just in general, the world. So that's awesome.
We're all connected, like you said. So
Mhm.
the, sooner
Absolutely.
the sooner we see that and realize that, the more we can help the future of everyone, of the globe, of the world, of the population, animals, the environment, just everything is affected by how people treat it and treat one another.
Yes, I think, well, I mean, at least for me personally, I think that's the take home message that we're sent here to get, to really get. So I do hope that this time kind of catalyzes that in some ways. I know she said there's like things going on where there's more divide, but I also think there's more unity. So I don't know. I'm personally hopeful, and I'm hopeful that coming through the pandemic and stuff like that, there may be a transition to greater awareness, hopefully, and especially with things like what you're doing. I think that's such a huge step forward towards that. with people, with the messaging.
I think we're in the middle of a consciousness shift, a paradigm shift. And I think that COVID actually was sort of like a reset button to like see what's really important, like what's really important in life. And the place we were going before, like many people were on autopilot, working way too many hours, like just constantly doing stuff for work. And has to be balance in life. And it can't just be big corporations running everything, pushing. There has to be work, life, family. There has to be balance between all of it. And it just seems like things are going to slowly turn, I think, for the better.
Yes, I strongly agree with you. I feel like we're going to come out of this with a new normal. Exactly what that looks like, I'm not sure, but I really don't see us going back to doing things exactly how they were before. It just felt like things were getting too fast and too crowded and too, like you said, no time for people just to be. So that would be, and all of the devastation and all of the loss, that would be the most amazing gift if something like that were to come out the other side. A greater awareness and a greater unity would be amazing. Even among people themselves and families, that smaller units, if nothing more.
Very true, very true. And you realize you're not willing to put up with stuff that doesn't resonate with you. Like if you're around someone that's negative all the time, or like say you have a boss that like puts, instead of like seeing things like a boss, instead of a boss uplifting employees, say a boss does the opposite, then it's like, you know what, that no one should have to stay in an environment like that. And people need to know what their worth and their value is and what they'll put up with. And like people need to be accountable for their actions. And I think, holding people accountable is like the first step to making things better.
Absolutely, yes. We've all got things to take ownership for. Most definitely. Okay, so the next question is, what is your favorite word and why? And what is your least favorite word and why?
I think my favorite word is the sun, because it represents vitality. Like in history and all, civilizations, like the sun is always seen as building and powerful. And so I think that has to be like one of my favorite words. And then can't is one of my least favorite words, like hearing, well, you can't do something. And it's like, well, why not figure out a way?
That's true, right? It's almost a little bit of an energy of challenge or something like that, because it's like, no, it's like, what can you do with can't? There's like, it's a wall, right?
Yeah, it's like, is it really can't or is it won't? And what can you do to make it work? So just in a perspective.
Exactly. I love that. So do you fight fair in an argument?
I would say that I'm considerate because I can see things from different angles.
Yes. The ability to appreciate other people's points of view and to be able to step back, that's so important. So yeah,
I agree. And I can like see someone's perspective and not necessarily agree with it, and I don't have to agree. And I don't, it's like everybody has a different unique approach and facet. So to me, I think differing opinions are really good. And it's just, if you hurt someone, that's where you have to start looking at what exactly is this person saying. I mean, as long as you're not harming someone, like different opinions are good. But you just have to look at what your belief is, how does it affect someone else? But like some people will argue and argue and argue just to get their point across. And that's not really important to me. Like, I don't want to argue with anyone.
Oh, no, it's really not so much fun. And usually if you get to the point of just enforcing your opinion, then you've kind of already lost in a sense.
Exactly. It's like everyone is entitled to their experience of the world, and why would you argue what someone else is experiencing? It makes no sense.
Yes, exactly. Uh, okay, cool perspective. I agree with that. So who in history would you want to help or stop?
To me, this is a big one, and it's just because of how everything in my country has evolved, but how the colonists from England came over and took the land away from the indigenous peoples of America. Like, I mean, that changed kind of everything. And if you look back in history, the greatest ruler was one of the greatest rulers in history who took lands and conquered was Genghis Khan, but yet Genghis Khan allowed for religious autonomy. Like, he allowed people to keep their values when he took lands over. And I think he conquered like parts, it was called Eurasia, and then parts of Russia, big land masses. And he had I think the longest standing empire was the empire of the Mongolians. And so that was back in the 1200s.
Mhm.
And I mean, if who came to America and settled here, instead of just trying to get rid of all the inhabitants here, or sending them off to finishing schools so they can learn English and dress like settlers, things would have been so much different in a way that I think nature would have been different. We wouldn't have global warming like we do today. We wouldn't have threatening, and like animals are going extinct at huge rates because the endogenous populations took everything in balance, where whatever they took from the land, they gave back. They'd leave an area before they depleted its resources, essentially.
Yes, wow, that's such a interesting and important perspective. And that's right. That's probably not the top of mind answer that would come to me, but that's like so interesting and important because you're right. We lost a wealth of knowledge by um people trying to do it their way and only their way, right? And that's never leads to the best outcome. So that's such a powerful answer.
And when I look back at history, in history, religions have been like looked at and tried to, like, conquering people's religion, where in Mongolia, they weren't conquering religions. They even got people to join the armies like voluntarily. And I think Genghis Khan was looked at as being a huge business. He was a powerful warlord, but the same notion, he taught warriors, but he also was a good businessman. And there was an example of him like sealing the deal before meeting people in person. He would send a team up ahead to see how he could make a business deal and make things happen even before he went into a land. And so when you going into a land, like looking at the native inhabitants, you could see, what do they need? What can I bring to the table? What can I get? And how can we work together to make each side happy? But that wasn't done here. So it's just something to look at. And if you look at all places that get conquered and people are in genocide and in camps, and it's just like, why? I mean, there doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be my way or the highway.
No, there's so much power in collaboration. So hopefully we can take some of that to the future. It's hard to say, right? We've still got a lot of people wanting to be right and people wanting to be heard alone. So, but no, that's such a cool and important answer. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so this one's just a little bit light and fluffy. So sweet, sweet or sour candy or completely salty snacks.
All of the above. I can't help it. I like it all.
It's like the
And side
Halloween
by
bag, right?
side.
It's really hard to choose.
And I like it all side by side at one time even. Like it just tastes good to mix. I don't know, it tastes good.
It's kind of like the Chicago popcorn, right? With a little bit of lime.
It's like to have different flavors and like an example, like sweet and sour and hot sauce. To me, like side
Oh,
by
wow.
side, it just tastes good to me.
Very cool. I agree with you. I'm not good with those types of choices, so I totally agree with that. Okay, so the final question is, what fictional place do you wish that you could visit?
I thought of a fictional place, but it wasn't fictional. So it, I it's so strange that like some of the same things pop up. And there's a poem, like I love English romanticism, and there was
Mhm,
a poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge called 𝗂𝗏 𝗏. And what's interesting is like the poem was like the creative nature of working with nature or working in harmony with nature, and also
mhm,
like working against nature and the difference. And it's just strange that things have a way of just always interrelating with me. And like you asked, and one of the responses was the American indigenous population. Well, when I look at this poem, it talked about Xanadu, which was a real place in the Khan dynasty era, in the Yan dynasty,
mhm,
when the Mongols invaded China. And it, like, this place was in a poem that Samuel Taylor Coleridge wrote. And the first couple lines drew me in. And the lines go, and Xanadu did 𝗂𝗏 𝗏 a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran in caverns immeasureless to man down by a sunless sea. And each stanza like talks about like a maiden who was playing a dulcimer, and this man came upon her and just fell in love. And then he was inspired, and it stopped him because he wanted to hear music by her, this maiden, this beautiful maiden. And then the last stanza, like it goes on about like a creative muse, and he wanted to fill this area, this dome, with beautiful music. And this guy, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he was actually reading a story about Genghis Khan, and he was reading about the real city that Genghis Khan ruled over. He was reading about it, and this was probably, I can't remember, was it 1700s or 1800s, the area of romanticism. I can't remember exact dates, but the Mongol Empire was like in the 1200s. So
mhm.
you have someone in the 17 or 1800s reading about the 1200s, and it was interesting. And I think I'm not a drug person, but he was smoking hash or something, and he fell asleep at his desk, and he had this entire dream of this area of
Wow,
Xanadu. So
wow,
and when I read that poem in school, it just really drew me in.
wow, it's mystical and magical, and yeah, I totally get that. It's like a romantic place, mysterious history, reading about history. And what you said about inspiration that the man got from seeing the girl, I love that, because honestly, I think that love is about inspiring the other person to that energy, right? It's not about forcing someone, it's about the inspiration that is that energy. So I love all of that. Xanadu. I'm gonna I'm gonna remember that. That's such a beautiful, amazing answer. So all right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest tonight. I love this
Thank
interview.
you.
You have such a unique, amazing perspective on all of the answers.
It was fun to
um,
be here. It was fun to talk to you.
I learned a lot, and I'm so excited about what you're doing with Downward Dog Rising. I can't wait till the marketing for that comes out. But just to recap, so we can check your stuff out currently interim as Traci Roshitsh on YouTube and
Yes.
also LinkedIn, or just YouTube.
I'm also on LinkedIn under my name. I have an
Mhm.
account on LinkedIn. I have an email address, traciroshitsh@gmail.com. So I have different ways where people can reach me. And what I've been doing right now is sometimes I'll have people contact me on YouTube. I had someone who was a cooking teacher in France tell me that they walked a lot with a backpack and then cooking all day. And could I give them a Pilates workout that would help their back? And I just thought that was really fun and cool. So I made a Pilates workout for back pain, and they later thanked me. So I think YouTube could be really fun in that way, where you could comment on a video that you see, and then, the creator of the video gets to interact with whoever wants to comment. And if someone has any like neck pain or anything, it's like it's a way to show someone, well, this is what you could do for yourself to get rid of that pain, and if someone has a need that I feel that I can't fulfill, then I'm going to direct them to the right medical person to go get checked out. Like if they explain something to me in such a way that I think they need more help than physical exercise could give them, then I'm going to try to lead them to the right professional, where maybe they need a chiropractor, maybe they need to go see a doctor, maybe I think they need x-rays or an MRI. Like you can tell pretty much by the way a person describes what's happening in their body if you think they need something extra. Like if anyone ever has like tingling sensations or like weird sensations running down their leg, it could actually be from compressed, discs in their back, and they could have nerve issues. So it's like being able to tell someone, you might need more help than what a video can give you. That's also important too.
I think it is, right? Because the biggest, well, not the biggest, but I think that's a really important aspect is just what you said, is being very transparent about kind of like what you can offer someone, and just letting them know that, check this out as well. And you have a lot of experience in the field from your time in Florida and owning your own business there, and the years of instruction that you've done. So I think that's like really great that you are, comprehensive and looking at the person's overall wellness. That's amazing.
Safety is important. And so it's important that whenever you're working with someone, that they think of safety as one of a big factor on how to help you, and you want to be able to address someone's concerns while keeping them safe.
Yes. So that says a lot about who you are as a person, and the business you're building. So I'm super excited to see how that unfolds as it progresses, and just to pop on over to your channel and check it out now. So amazing. All right. Again, well, thank you for being here. And
Sure, you're
we'll
welcome.
definitely have you come back once Downward Dog Rising picks up momentum and expands, and just see where things are unfolding then. So, all
That would be
right. So
cool.
thank you. And all right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me a lot.
Appreciate you too. Okay, bye for now, Traci.
Bye. Take care.